A Fox Business Alert Attorney General William Barr right now making a major announcement on sanctuary policies in the United States while speaking to the National Sheriff's Association. Let's head straight to David Spud. He's at the Justice Department with the latest. David.
David, good evening to you. This is something the Trump administration has been pushing since President Trump came into office, taking action against sanctuary cities, states, and municipalities. That is exactly what Attorney General William Barr is announcing just a couple of blocks from where I'm standing right now at the Sheriff's Association winter meeting in Washington. To give you some details, the Attorney General announced the Department of Justice is suing the state of New Jersey and King County, Washington for their sanctuary city policies. Barr says King County, Washington officials refuse to let DHS deport illegal immigrants from the U.S. using King County International Airport. Now, for our viewers, a sanctuary city, it's a city or municipality that instructs local law enforcement officials not to cooperate with federal officials such as ICE when it comes to immigration issues. Some sanctuary cities, top of mind, Boston, Philadelphia, San Francisco, they tout themselves as safe havens for illegal immigrants who live under the constant fear of deportation.
And although local communities frequently feel the effects of unfettered illegal immigration and the effects of criminal aliens, the only authority in the country that is vested with the power and the responsibility of dealing with that problem is the federal government. No state can deal with it alone.
And David, you know, this brings us to the fight over global entry for New York residents. I'm sure you and others paid attention to this. This came out last week. It's a program allowing travelers to bypass long custom lines to the federal government. Now, they suspended New Yorkers from being able to sign up for that program because they're arguing New York has this new green light law that allows illegal immigrants to obtain driver's licenses. Well, New York's Democratic Governor Andrew Cuomo said this is ridiculous. He, in fact, called it extortion. He plans to sue on this. And Attorney General Barr and other officials here at Justice, they say, listen, New York is not the only state. Washington, King County, Washington, and right now New Jersey. These are just some of the states and municipalities. We are expecting to see others in the future in the eye of the Department of Justice. David, back to you.
All right, David Spund. Good stuff. Thank you very much. Let's bring in former federal prosecutor Doug Burns to tell us what all this means. It looks like the administration is declaring war against sanctuary cities.
Look, sanctuary cities, first of all, is sort of a fictional term. You've heard others say that. There's really no such thing. It's just completely made up. The sanctuary city, what does that mean?
Well,
cities,
hold on 1 second, Doug.
Yeah.
What it means specifically, and what I think the administration is trying to end, is preventing federal officers from arresting illegal aliens.
I wasn't criticizing it. I was in reverse. The point is there's no way that a municipality can turn around and say, we're not going to honor an arrest warrant. We're not going to make our facilities available to deport people. Because, A, federal law is supreme, federal law as against state or local law. And then, B, obviously, not to be corny, when you swear your oath as a state or local law enforcement official, part of that is you're going to honor ICE. You know, I was a federal prosecutor 9 years, and I was in a lot of situations with federal and state. But the problem, quick editorial, is that in the times we live in, it's you're all in for, you know, immigrants and illegal aliens, or you're all against them. And it's crazy because that's not the type of discussion we should be having.
John?
Hi, Doug. You know, I'm really fed up here, right?
Sure.
You know, when the federal government actually tries to reinforce federal law, you know, there's this outrage, right? But we don't hear the same outrage when states do not allow the federal government to exercise its duty and responsibility to protect the American people. Yes, this is going to be caught up in the courts and so forth, and I hear what your opinion is, but where's this ultimately going, and how soon will this be resolved in the election year?
Well, it's a continuing toxic dust-up and a continuing toxic discussion. As I said a minute ago, not to be a broken record, some people say, these immigrants, they're valedictorians and they're with their grandmother. That's fine. Others, everybody's a criminal and a gang member. Neither of those is true. The truth is in the middle, if everybody would just calm down a little bit. And so the fact of the matter is, when will it end? I think it's continuing all the way through the election for sure and beyond.
Robert?
Doug, I just want to be clear because I'm not on different pages than where I think reality is.
Sure.
I think anyone that has committed a crime should be detained and should be deported.
That's fair.
I think there is a big difference, though, between when we say there shouldn't be a safe harbor
Right.
for undocumented
Right.
individuals who, by the way, that is not criminal to be undocumented.
but you're making a great point.
No, I just
Yeah,
want to
which
finish.
I'll tell you.
That's a civil violation.
Right.
The problem with a lot of the governors and mayors in sanctuary cities are
Right.
saying that police cannot detain someone who's undocumented for an ICE person to come. That's been their argument. I know we want to change things around, but that's been their argument. I'm not sure if that's true or false. That's their argument.
All
though.
you're saying, and I couldn't agree more, is up here you have to honor an arrest warrant. Up here you have to honor a valid court order. And down here, as Robert explains, is, hey, we're not going to go out of our way to ask people their status. One argument everybody always misses, but it's there, is, informants are used all the time. You've heard people say that. And so it's a mixed analysis.
And Doug,
mixed
we
analysis.
do have examples
Right.
of hardened criminals that ICE was trying to get that were protected
No
by
question about it.
sanctuary cities, and they've gone on to commit other crimes, some more heinous than those that ICE was trying to get them
There's
for.
absolutely no question about that. But the point is, in the toxic environment, we cherry pick that. Look at this. They didn't deport this guy. He killed somebody.
Doug, we got to have you back.
no
This
problem.
deserves more time, and we're going to be hitting it again.